Hi guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the Q4FY25 result of the QSR space. Okay, now when you look at this QSR space, right? I mean, if anybody has tracked this space now for like around 2 to 3 years, you would have seen one thing is, this was that one sector jisme there was problems and there were it looked like the problems are never ending over here, right? And one after the other, it was always one or the other problems. Now if you look kya problems tha pehla tha, one was the demand condition, right? Like people were not willing to go and buy from a QSR space because when you compare the QSR space now versus let's say 10 years ago, a lot of competition has come up, right? And earlier if you see QSR ka space ka jo uniqueness tha, where you get really fast food, now you get that kind of fast service by a lot of other restaurants also. At the same time, with the addition of this aggregators, the food delivery platforms such as Swiggy and Zomato, it had bridged the gap even smaller, right? So that is one of the reason. The other thing kya tha yahan pe, there was people yahan pe raw material ka inflation tha. Whether you talk about pizzas, the price of cheese, the price of tomatoes surged. If you talk about chicken, wahan pe chicken ka price surged. So all in all, there is yahan pe ek demand ka problem hai from the customers. On the other hand, there is competition ka intensity has become high, and yahan pe raw material ka inflation also was there. So all in all, which really killed their margins, after it killed their sales, it killed their bottom line. Everything you could imagine, it had happened. Okay? And this was not just with one company, it was with across all the companies in the QSR space. Okay? Now if you see a little bit over here, if you see, the situation has improved a little bit. Okay, I'm not telling it is back to the glorious days what it was once upon a time, but yes, the situation has improved for few companies. I will tell you, just two companies by a far greater margin than what it used to be same time last year. Agar aap Q4 FY24 se if you compare Q4 FY25, for these two companies the situation is much better. ठीक है? So the first two companies that we will talk about is यहाँ पे. Now obviously we will also do a race का segment over here, but before that, first thing first, we will talk about all the five companies together, I mean individually, and then we will do the race. Okay, I will also put a timestamp, so I have to like take which company I'm discussing at what time. Now anyways, the first thing we will talk about is Devyani and Sapphire. I think we can do both at the same time, but if I have to talk about Devyani, as you know, with Devyani agar aap dekhte ho na, they have a couple of brand portfolios. One is KFC and Pizza Hut. KFC is a huge brand for them because if you look at KFC, they have KFC ka in India, in Nigeria, right? In Thailand also they acquired KFC last time. ठीक है? अगर आप देवयानी का sales देखते हो, at first glance if you see, Devyani ka sales is up by what, like 15% on a Q4 on Q4 basis, and almost 40% on a year on year basis. Now this is a very wrong interpretation of sales because in this year they acquired this Skygate बोल के एक brand है. Under Skygate there are three sub brands: Biryani by Kilo, Goila's Butter Chicken, and Bhojan बोल के. There are these three sub brands which comes under the Skygate company. ठीक है? Now since they acquired the Skygate company, दिस बार क्या हुआ, उसका बेस आ गया ना, बिकॉज लास्ट टाइम देयर वाज नो स्काईगेट का ब्रांड इन 24 का कंपैरिजन. इन 25 में, इन द फाइनेंशियल ईयर 25, व्हाट हैपेंड, सिंस दिस एक्विजिशन के वजह से दैट बेस लुक्स वेरी बिगर, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट यू विल सी दैट सेल्स इज अप बाय 40%, बट दैट इज नॉट द केस. उनका अभी भी जो है द मेन ब्रांड्स राइट नाउ आर KFC इंडिया एंड पिज्जा हट इंडिया. ठीक है, दीज आर द टू बिग ब्रांड्स. दे हैव ऑल दिस वैंगो, कोस्टा कॉफी विच आर सब ब्रांड्स, but KFC India and Pizza Hut are the big brands. If you see, they literally contribute almost to majority of the stores and everything. But अगर आप यहाँ पे देखते हो ना, the problems continue for both Devyani and Sapphire. ठीक है? अगर आप देवयानी का देखते हो, if you look at the KFC India का SSG जो है, that is right now at, for the full year it is -6.4. Last time it was -4.6. अगर मैं Pizza Hut का बात करूँ, Pizza Hut is little bit improved. You can tell last time the Pizza Hut का SSG was -10. This time Pizza Hut का SSG is -4. ठीक है? Now यहाँ पे मैं इतना यहाँ पे क्यों stress कर रही हूँ, because if your main brand of portfolio isn't growing, then what is the point? Because they are doing this acquisition. Last time they acquired KFC Thailand, this time they acquired this Skygate. इसके वजह से growth आ रहा है. Now when you talk about additional आगे का growth, there are two combinations of it, right? One is SSG and the other one is store addition. Now the majority base में आप उतना store addition नहीं कर रहे हो. Like for example, if you look at KFC India, they have 696 stores and they're adding around 80 stores in a year. ठीक है? आप ही कर लो स्टोर एक्सपेंशन CAGR कितना हो सकते हैं यहाँ पे. Similarly Pizza Hut, they have around they have around 630 stores. Earlier they used to add around 60 odd stores. Now they're telling we will probably add 20 to 25 stores. The fact that they're reducing the store guidance for Pizza Hut shows you कि like यहाँ पे उतना confidence नहीं है in that brand, right? And going forward यहाँ पे the problem is fully not solved with Pizza Hut. The reason why KFC for them didn't work, because if you look at the entire QSR का space, the most affected category was pizza. The in between burger and the least affected was chicken category. ठीक है, like if you talk about the demand condition, ठीक है. But this time even KFC also didn't perform really that great. Why? Because for Devyani they have two big states. So actually four big states. One is that Telangana, Andhra Pradesh region, Kerala, West Bengal. ठीक है, these are, and Karnataka. Karnataka mein there was no issues, but in West Bengal there is all this geopolitical issue happening, because of which obviously it has subdued the entire sales over there. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, in that region there was this bird flu, because of which they lost around 70 to 75 days of sales. Okay, and in Kerala again, apparently there is some turmoil or political thing happening over there. I do not know. Maybe if anybody's in Kerala, they can tell what is the issue over here. But since the three majority of the state, West Bengal, Kerala, and यहाँ पे Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, that is their four states, sorry, that didn't perform well. That is why KFC का situation, looks like it's worsened over here over a period of time. ठीक है. Now we will have to track and see कि like ultimately अगर ये will it be revived or not. But having said that, you still see now when you look at the store expansion rate, right, it hardly comes up to that 8 to 10, 12% in that range. Usme bhi SSG is negative. So where will the growth come from? How long will you keep doing acquisition, right? And on top of that, the other thing over here, the existing, I mean the new acquisitions that is there, whether it is KFC Thailand, whether it is the that Goila butter chicken, and then that Bojan, and what is the other sub brand of Skygate जो है biryani by kilo. Ultimately even here also पैन इंडिया प्रेजेंस में अगर आपको यहाँ पे एक्सपेंशन करना है, इट इज अ वेरी स्मॉल पोर्टफोलियो ओवर हियर कंपेयर टू द देवयानी का केएफसी एंड पिज्जा हट. सो दैट इज द थिंग. ठीक है, सो आई वुड से देवयानी एंड इवन सफायर इज प्रोबेबली द लीस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग प्लेयर. इट इज द थर्ड इन द कैटेगरी. अगर मैं सफायर का भी बात करूँ, वही सीन है. इफ यू लुक एट द सेल्स इज अप 11% ऑन अ ईयर बेसिस, एंड इट इज अप 13% ऑन अ Q4 बेसिस. ठीक है, पैट का बात छोड़ ही दो यहाँ पे, बिकॉज द मार्जिन्स आर सो कंप्रेस्ड that that the pat is just not there only. The pat is good for nothing यहाँ पे जो भी है. ठीक है. And if you talk about the SSG also over here, SSG isn't that great. Both the SSG with respect to KFC, with respect to Pizza Hut is negative. ठीक है. इनका SSG over here, if you see, SSG for the full year was at negative 1%. I mean combined, if you look at both Pizza Hut and KFC combined, it was on a restaurant level, it was negative 1%. Whereas like I told you, although both Devyani and Sapphire have the same brand, right? Devyani and Sapphire sell KFC and Pizza Hut. They have that license, to open store and sell KFC and Pizza Hut ka product. But do you see the impact is more for Devyani compared to Sapphire? Sapphire ka SSG is negative 1%, versus KFC Devyani is negative 7, and Pizza Hut of Devyani is negative 4. Why is that huge aberration? Is because of the geographies they are operating in. Sapphire operates in a completely different geography compared to Devyani in India. So since Sapphire doesn't operate in those four states where Devyani is operating its KFC ka chain, that is the reason यहाँ पे impact इतना there is this huge difference in terms of impact over here. ठीक है. Then we have the third company that we will be doing is Westlife Foodworld. This I would say probably comes in the second tier. ठीक है. As you know, Westlife Foodworld is responsible for selling McDonald's. ठीक है, मतलब putting up the stores for McDonald's, especially in the southern and the western market. Okay. Now over here, if you look at Westlife Foodworld, sales is up by mere 7.3%. ठीक है. PAT is at 12 crore versus last time it was 69 crore. Now first thing first, I do not even want to go forward and see like what is happening over here. Q is ka I mean, see, there you have to be a little bit smart over here. If you have to analyze, let's say like 1000 companies or so, you need to be smart and know how to reject companies. जो company 7% का growth कर रहा है, उसका भाल का उसका उखाड़ के there is no absolutely no point, right? उसका आप cash flows लेके balance sheet लेके क्या उखाड़ लोगे ultimately? Because think about it, right? The country is growing at around 7%. I think the GDP is 7.6, right? For Q1, I think for Q4 it was 7.6, right? उसमें 5% you put inflation, that is like around 13%, right? So the company is growing lesser than that of the country ka growth rate. I mean, what is the whole point? And think about it, if you're coming to the market, you are putting so much effort, right? Aap yahan pe, most of you all have a day job and everything, right? And you're putting so much effort over here to read and analyze the companies. You're taking so much volatility for what? 7%? इससे अच्छा तो आपको interest मिलता है FD में रख के, right? I mean, I think if you're going to put a lot of effort over here, both with respect to your time and energy, then you should, I mean, if you're not chasing those high growth companies, then what is the whole point? Then it just becomes one academically a theoretical thing ultimately. That is it. Okay? So over here also, if you look at it, SSG is at zero point 0.7. Now if you exclude the apparently इनका बोलना है कि like SSG is technically 1.7 because last year was a leap year 24 and 25, you know, that if you do not consider the leap year का impact जो एक दिन में आता है साल का, then the SSG is 1.7%. ठीक है? So even here also, see, if you talk about it यहाँ पे, the existing stores that they have is around, you know, is around kitna stores है इनका? 438 stores. Okay, and they plan to add around 45 to 50 stores every year, and the target is for them to reach 582 to 630 stores in by FY20, by current year 27, not FY27, current year 27. ठीक है? So effectively the store expansion comes up to 9 to 13%, that kind of, you know, store expansion. Like I told you, growth rate यहाँ पे, what is the two reasons for growth rate over here? How can you estimate? Store expansion plus SSG. ठीक है? So if your store expansion is coming up to 9 to 13% and उसमें आप 5%, let's say, let me assume कि like यहाँ पे, although यहाँ पे इनका SSG is hardly, you know, 1% and less, like, you know, 0.7% है, even if I assume कि like आगे जाके situation improve होगा, and let's say I'll put 5% का SSG, you know, which is a decent amount for any QSR. Let's say they do 5% SSG. 9 plus 5 is how much? 14% का growth rate. Still very mediocre, na? I mean, look at that. Store expansion is mediocre. SSG is literally non-existent right now. So again, right, what are we looking forward over here, right? The same, you know, issues that are happening. Then the fourth company that we will be doing is यहाँ पे restaurant brand Asia. ठीक है? Yeah, and the fourth company we'll be doing is Restaurant Brand Asia. Now, if you look at Restaurant Brand Asia also, right? Again, इसका अगर आप देखते हो portfolio of brands, what and all is there? There are two big brands. One is Burger King, which they operate both in India as well as in Indonesia, and the other big brand is Popeyes, which they have recently started in Indonesia. Again, please understand यहाँ पे Popeyes India is managed by Jubilant Foodworks, which is Domino's, ठीक है? But Popeyes Indonesia is managed by Restaurant Brand Asia. ठीक है? So हर एक geography के लिए, you know, the licensing is given to, you know, some other company. ठीक है? Like you see Devyani and Sapphire also, same brand that they operate, but since, you know, they have control over different geographies. Now over here also Restaurant Brand Asia, अगर आप देखते हो, sales is up by, you know, 5.9% year on year and 4.5% on a Q4 on Q4 basis. ठीक है? If you remember, Restaurant Brand Asia has never been a profitable company. Since a time they've been in IPO, I think it's been what, like now 5 good years since it's been an IPO. It's always been a loss-making company, and now at least I think this is the first year where obviously loss is not, it's not widened or anything, but also at the same time it is not improved. You know, loss is at 233 crore this year. It was the same at last year. Now the problem over here is the India business that is there. It is growing at 11%. Okay, and SSG for India business is good, 5.1%, because last time अगर आप देखते हो same time SSG was, I think, somewhere around 1 or 2%. Okay, because if you look at this entire QSR का space, Restaurant Brand Asia is that one company jiska, when, you know, even during the turmoil, SSG was at 6% in that range, and they came and revised the guidance for 3%, when all the other companies ka SSG ka guidance was, you know, like somewhere around you know, like negative, you know, in that range. So the fact that they've been able to, you know, यहाँ पे Restaurant Brand का Asia का, you know, they've gone from that negative, you know, to that 3% SSG, you know, from that single digit SSG to somewhere low single digit to mid single digit, somewhere from 1 to 3% to 5.1%. So yes, improvement has happened over here, but the problem is उनका Indonesia का business ना is completely dragging them down. Probably if they didn't acquire that Indonesia ka business na, they would have been profitable by now. I mean, you could I mean, there is no right or wrong answer here, but that must have happened because this Indonesia ka business mein what is happening? As you know, Indonesia is a Muslim country. Burger King, Popeyes is a American brand. When this Israel and Gaza ka issue happened, you know, all the America started supporting Israel. Na? So all these Muslim countries started boycotting any American companies that are there. So they, you know, because of this, you know, they had to boycott Popeyes and Burger King. You know, the people started boycotting it in Indonesia, which means what? As a result, they had to shut down the stores. SSG was obviously non-existent because of this, and that is exactly what has happened. Indonesia mein sales is down 10%, SSG is up only 2%. Okay, not just here. In fact, if you look at the store addition, there has been no store addition in Indonesia in the last 1 year. In fact, it has been the quite opposite. Okay, Indonesia का अगर आप देखते हो, stores has been shut compared to last year to this year. Okay, the number of stores, if you see, there is no net addition, like there is no net or gross addition in terms of store, but in fact the store has been shut over here. Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, and इनका भी वही है, they will add 60 to 80 stores, which is roughly around 11 to 15% केगा. ठीक है, but यहाँ पे मैं एक बात बोलती हूँ रेस्टोरेंट ब्रांड एशिया में, until and unless we do not see an operating leverage, or at least we do not see the light towards operating leverage. ठीक है, like we don't see that improvement also, there is no point. आप कितना भी high growth engine रख लो, but we need to see ना, there has to be light at the end of the tunnel. And think about this company, it has been 5 years, and all we've been hearing is like, yes, we will be profitable, but when is a question. And with the situation that is there, unka do portfolio of brand is not working, which is Burger King Indonesia and Popeyes Indonesia, it becomes very very hard for this to sustain. So I would put, although this restaurant brand Asia has a good growth rate compared to, you know, Westlife Foodworlds, right? But having said that, just because we do not see that light towards profitability, I would, in spite of having growth, I would put both Restaurant Brand Asia and Westlife Foodworld in the second position. And the third position may have Devyani and Sapphire. Now, the last company that is there is Jubilant Foodworks, which actually is the number one player here. And I'm really surprised actually, because if you look at Jubilant Foodworks, unka base is bigger compared to all of these companies, right? Like compared to Devyani, Sapphire, RB and everything, they are a huge market cap compared to all this. And the fact that they've been able to grow the fastest with this huge market cap is quite a shocker. Now obviously with Jubilant Foodworks also the same thing. If you look at the sales, you'll see that the sales is up 33%, and in Q4 on Q4, and 45% on a year on year basis. Okay, but this is a wrong way to look at it, because Jubilant Foodworks had acquired, you know, this Domino's ka jo hai in the Eurasia, which is Turkey, Azerbaijan and Georgia. In these three countries, they acquired the license of Domino's. Okay, because of that, you know, in whatever stores are there in that geography got added to the portfolio. Now because of this acquisition in this year, that is why the sales, you know, look how do I compare to last year or last Q4, it looks, you know, like, oh, sales itna bada hai, but that has not been the case. Okay, other thing is, if you look at PAT, you might see that, you know, if you look at the PAT in the income statement, you will see that the PAT is down by 50%. Again, the wrong way to look at it, because there is an exceptional item of 170 crore odd rupees in the last year. Okay, that is in FY24. So if you exclude that PAT, you have to make sure you exclude that exceptional item and look at the PAT. And so that is why I tell you, don't look at screener, always go through the income statement and see, you know, like, you know, if there is some abnormality or not. Okay, the other thing over here, like I told you, even here also, if you look, the group stores that are there, that group ka store matlab India, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Sri Lanka, everywhere together, that is your group store. Okay, standalone का अगर आप देखते हो, that is only India का operation. Now if you look at group store, which is a combination of all the countries together, the network of stores they have is 3,300. ठीक है, 3,316. But if I look at India का store कितना है? 2,179. ठीक है, so the majority of the revenue, majority of the store count कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? India से आ रहे हैं, even as of now. ठीक है, now if you look at India ka business grew around, you know, India ka business grew, the like for like sales that is there, that grew around 12%. Okay, now think about it, KFC Devyani and KFC Pizza Hut SSG was -7 and -4% respectively. Westlife Foodworld का SSG कितना था? 0.7%. ठीक है, RBA का इंडिया का SSG कितना था? 5.1%. Then whom are we missing? हाँ, चारों का चारों हो गया. All do you see are either in negative या low single digit. ठीक है, वर्सेस डोमिनोज का लाइक फॉर लाइक सेल्स दैट इज देयर, इट इज कितना 12% दैट इज देयर, ठीक है. सो दैट इज आई वुड से कंसिडरेबली रियली रियली गुड, एंड दिस इज ऑन अ स्टैंड अलोन बेसिस. उनका एसएसजी इज 12%, एंड उनका अगर आप देखते हो सेल्स ग्रोथ विच इज ओनली फ्रॉम द इंडिया बिजनेस दैट इज देयर, दैट इज 20%. इंडिया का सेल्स ग्रोथ दैट इज डोमिनोज. एंड व्हाई एम आई स्ट्रेसिंग आउट ऑन हियर सो मच इज बिकॉज लाइक आई टोल्ड यू, ग्रुप नेटवर्क ऑफ स्टोर्स इज कितना 3300, एंड इंडिया का स्टोर्स कितना है 2200 इन दैट रेंज. सो मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्टोर्स एंड रेवेन्यू इज कमिंग फ्रॉम इंडिया, एंड आपका ये मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द रेवेन्यू इज ग्रोइंग कितना 20%, एंड एसएसजी इज 12%, ठीक है. एंड इफ यू लुक एट देयर एक्सपेंशन, इफ यू लुक एट इट, लाइक आई टोल्ड you, they have around 3316 stores, and they plan to add 280 stores every year. Out of this 280 stores, 250 will be in India and 30 will be in that Turkey, Azerbaijan, in that region. Now think about it, right? 280 stores add कर रहे हो, 250 are adding in India and 30 are adding in that Eurasia region. Again also goes to show you कि like focus यहाँ पे इंडिया में ही है, majority of the focus, not in Turkey, not in Azerbaijan. अभी भी आगे का growth जो है, in spite of this big base, it is going to come from India and not from the Eurasia, Sri Lanka or other region, ठीक है. Now if I take the store expansion CAGR, right, मतलब आप 3316 हो, and then you are going to add 280 stores a year, so roughly that is an 8% का CAGR, store expansion का CAGR. And if I consider just from the India business, you are getting 12% का growth. 8 plus 12 is roughly how much कितना 20% का growth engine है, which I think for the kind of base it has, that big base में आप 20% करो, really really great. And the fact, I'll tell you one thing, I'm actually really surprised because the same time last year Q4FY24 में उनका SSG था -1.5%, ठीक है, -1.5% से now you are at 12% का SSG, which is really really fabulous. Now the only thing to wait and see is, because store expansion से यहाँ पे ज्यादा revenue नहीं आने वाला है, because store expansion is कितना 8% का revenue growth, ठीक है. The biggest game changer for them will be if they can continue to drive this SSG, if they can maintain this high, a high single digit, low double digit, which is somewhere between 10 to like 12 या 14% का SSG, if they are able to maintain, then well and great. Yes, I do understand यहाँ पे इसका base बहुत बड़ा है, right? Let me just check what is the market cap over here. हाँ, basis around 45,856 करोड़ का market cap पे. Also do not take the PE over here into consideration from screener, because PE का formula is what is the bottom, what is the denominator of PE, or EPS का growth. EPS का growth over here, if you see, on a year basis you will see, या quarter on quarter also if you see, EPS का growth is subdued now. It looks subdued because of all these exceptional items and everything that is there, ठीक है. So don't take that into consideration, ठीक है. So you will have to see how the profitability grows, and I think they should be able to grow because there seems to be no problem right now, okay. They're doing really well in respect to all the metrics, all their new launches, volcano cheese, cheese burst, chicken cheese burst, whatever it is, it's somehow working really well for them, the new guy. Because also there was this confidence issue aaya tha Domino's mein, because the guy that was there, who was that guy, his name starts from P, like now he is a CEO of that Eureka, that Aquaguard ka company that is there now. He's a CEO of that company. He left Jubilant Foodworks and joined there. He used to be the CEO, and he is the one who drove Domino's to what Domino's is today, okay. And now there is a new guy, I forgot the name of this new guy. So obviously when this transition happened, right, from the old guy to the new guy, there was that, like, will this guy be able to take Domino's to what it is? But fantastic, man. The last 3 quarters, what he's done with Domino's, God knows what he's done, what has been the internal changes. But considering, the way they've pulled it off, really really great. Because think about it, Domino's and Pizza Hut operate in the same category, pizza category. एक का negative SSG में चल रहा है, both for Devyani and Sapphire in Pizza Hut. On the other hand, Domino's is posting 12% SSG. Where is negative SSG? Where is 12% SSG? Domino's is telling they will open 250 stores a year. On the other hand, Pizza Hut, both Devyani and Sapphire are telling, we are cautious about, Pizza Hut ka chain. We have to be very careful about opening Pizza Hut ka store. We are, also compared to last year, if they were opening 100 stores in Pizza Hut, this time they're opening around 50 stores. That also goes to show you कि like, Pizza Hut का उतना अच्छा केस नहीं चल रहा है. Same space both are operating, ठीक है. That is the thing. Yes, obviously यहाँ पे growth है, they're doing really well, right? Jubilant is on top of the race board compared to all the other players by a very far margin. Only thing यहाँ पे थोड़ा, yes, obviously don't expect a peer rating like, what happens with, small cap companies where P rating itna jaldi hota hai, like 3 mahine mein stock becomes 2x 3x and all. Don't expect that kind of immense momentum over here. Because another thing is, because yahan pe the base is bigger. Also, another thing to note down over here is, are we going to see, like I told you, when you compare FY24 to FY25, the base of FY24 was nothing, because there was so much problem in FY24 now, that the base was nothing in terms of SSG bolo, in terms of revenue bolo, nothing was there. So will they be able to continue this growth rate? Okay, when the base gets normalized, that is another question for Jubilant Foodworks. Okay, but as of now, where we are standing and we're looking, Jubilant Foodworks, followed by Westlife and Restaurant Brand Asia, followed by, I would say Jubilant Foodwork, Westlife Foodworld, Restaurant Brand Asia, then Devyani and Sapphire in one category. That is how I would position them in the race. आप बोलो if you have a different opinion over here, ठीक है? Again, Restaurant Brand Asia also does stand a chance, because their execution is really nice, but वो ही ना loss making है. How long? I mean, everybody gets tired after a certain point, right? I mean, it's been 5 years since you've been listed. How long will you do? So that is the thing. That's that with the QSR space. Again, not much to talk about it. Hopefully, will Jubilant sustain this growth rate or not? That is something to wait and watch for. Okay. So that's it with the Jubilant Foodworks. And yes, if you guys if you guys want to understand how to build, how to build a portfolio, or how to analyze these companies, what exactly to look for, when you open a PPT and open a con call, where do you exactly get the juice from? Get the investment checklist workshop for that, and get the portfolio analysis workshop if you want to understand how to manage the portfolio, okay, where I take an example of my own portfolio and I show you, okay, like how to do so, okay. But that's that with the entire video. I'll put the link to both the courses on the description box below, okay. That's that. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.